All right, Coffee with Gaz here with the Kevin Gazitua. Nice, man. Welcome to the, this is a spinoff because we're opening back up and Barbara's not here. Half the staff is here, so we should call it Water with Gaz.
It's Water with Gaz.
Little water. So this is like the part 2.
We could do like a blood is thicker than water thing.
Okay.
You know?
All right.
I don't know.
I like it, man. take whatever we get. Got to get back into this. It's nice to kind of get some content. I wanted to get a little bit of insurance, but before that, man, I haven't seen you in 2 months.
Yeah, man.
I like the haircut.
Thank you.
You got to go, man. Little Jackson Maximus. We got a little plug for
little Jackson Maximus action. You know, got the fade
for our sponsor.
Yeah. And sponsored wardrobe stylist.
Nice. Who are you wearing?
But I'm actually wearing Periella's.
Nice.
My dad's company.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, 2 months. I always tell myself when I went into quarantine, like I just don't want to come out worse. That was the whole thing.
Yeah, I don't need that negativity.
Yeah, I don't want to be like. There's people that are coming out of quarantine, and you're gonna be like, "Whoa, you had a rough one," and I didn't want to be that guy.
No,
you know?
I think there's gonna be 2 different extremes. You got the ones that come out better, come out worse.
Yeah.
You know, and there was just something funny. If you come out better than me, like I don't know if we're gonna hang out that much because I just don't want that kind of negativity in my life right now. So we're gonna I'm gonna pick and choose who I'm gonna be on. But you've always been in shape, man. You've always been, always since I've known you.
Yeah. Honestly, it's just like. I almost feel like a total tool when I say this, but it's like one of those things that it's just been so normal for me for so many years that it's like brushing my teeth. You know, it's like, all right, I got to work out today.
It's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's a lifestyle for you.
Yeah, and it's fun, and I get like a ton of energy, so it's good to kind of, release some pressure a little bit.
For sure.
From the pipes. But yeah, I got a nice home gym. I have like a whole thing. I've been building out my balcony. I got weights, bench. I got a punching bag. Got a bunch of stuff, so I've been able to keep busy. Got really sick of my cooking though.
Hey, Chef Gaz has a nice little ring to it.
I'm pretty good, but I need some variety. So
you got like 3 moves? That's
yeah, I got like 4 proteins and like 5 side dishes I make, and I just mix and match them.
You gotta get a little more exotic.
Yeah, the thing is, the Publix in Brickell, they like don't have that much stuff. The meat selection, everything has just kind of been going downhill. I mean, the first month of quarantine, I couldn't get eggs. There just wasn't any eggs. You
got to mix it up. You got to get a little creative. That's what it's for. I'll tell you what, coming to work today, first time back in the office, a little pumped up. The suit still fits, man.
Yeah.
I was a little nervous about it early on. And then, you know what? It's like riding a bike. Ready to go.
And it was kind of like, man, I came a couple days last week, and today I started off really early here. And it's just, I get so much more done here that it's like, man, how have I been surviving these last 2 months with the slowest internet in Miami? I have no idea.
Well, a little bit about your story. You have actually been working remotely prior. I mean, you were, and I'll say this, you're one of the hardest working, number one, you're my nephew, but you're one of the hardest working people I know. I mean, 20 years old, 19 years old, you were actually interning, going to school, working remotely. So you kind of built for this early on.
Yeah, and I have a lot of experience working from home. And so when I was we'll probably circle back to this eventually, but when I was wrapping up my career in underwriting, I worked like 6 months in an empty office where I was the only person in the entire office.
So you were Dante here.
Yeah, I was literally, I'd open it up, I'd turn off the alarm, I'd set up the coffee maker, I'd do everything, and then it would just be me all day.
I mean, what's working from home, what do you think is the one biggest tip you give somebody?
Oh, I have a ton. Because after I worked in the office for 6 months, I worked from home for an entire year in my bedroom. So, I mean, just to rattle a couple off is to keep home and work separate. You can't just be flip-flopping from the couch to your desk, to TV, to your desk, to the kitchen, to your laundry, to your work.
Right.
I mean, in the short term, for a couple weeks, or if you're only working a day or two, that's fine. But when it's your everyday, long-term career, it doesn't make any sense because your home stops becoming a place of rest to you. It becomes your office. And like nothing feels safe anymore, you know.
So you have that hard line to separate both.
Yeah,
that balance.
So what I would recommend is if you can have a home office in another room, that would be great. And if you give yourself tight time parameters, because people burn themselves out working from home because you're already home. So what's the trouble? What's the big issue with working till 7 p.m. every day?
Yeah, it's when you don't know when. You could always get that one extra email or the one extra submission. It's like when do you turn it off, when do you turn it on.
Yeah,
it's got its advantages, but if you don't kind of Departmentalize. Did I say that right? Why can't I say that word?
Decompartmentalize.
Oh, that's a tough word. Put that up there on the difficult words to say.
Decompartmentalize. I give up.
Hey, that was better than me. Nailed it.
But yeah, so, and it's almost like it's stressful too, because you're distracted by your home, you're working these longer hours, but you're less productive, so you don't feel good at the end of your workday. So you get so burnt out because now you have no free time. You're working 12 hours a day. You didn't get everything done you wanted to get done because you can't be that productive because you keep walking to the fridge and the couch. And it's like, next thing you know, weeks are going by and it's just like you start feeling horrible, you know? So like the best thing you can do is just to keep it separate, have hard stops in time. Like, hey, I'm working till 5 today. And then after that, I'm turning off my work line. Or I'm not taking any work calls. I'm not doing any emails because I'm home now.
Yeah, and
you know?
that's a good tip. And I don't think everyone's built for it. I mean, I think everybody can do it, but you're right. Working from home, kind of separating, but even being more organized. I think that's the other thing as well. We've talked about it, and I learned from you, man. You know, talking about being us being in sales. You know, early on, I kind of struggled, kind of figuring things out on my own. It was just, you know, being 25 when I started, and you're 25 right now.
Yeah.
When I started into insurance, being in sales, I was a generalist, and I would just kind of throw things against the wall. And I struggled so much with kind of figuring out what to do, and I've always knew what to do because I kept myself busy looking for prospects. But some things would fall through the crack because it wasn't. I just always felt, you know, I had to go meet new people and go for the sale, but then I'd lose kind of the momentum. And you had mentioned too, like you're so organized that when you're on a commission only basis and you don't have a schedule per se, we got to be more organized than most people.
Yeah, and it's tough too because you have to give yourself a break, and sales burnout is a very real thing, as I'm sure you're very aware. Sometimes it's like you're out of this mental energy, and sometimes you get into these rhythms where you're just dealing with problems all day, and it's sucking the life out of everything you're doing. You have a couple of big deals fall through the cracks, and then you get this add-on effect, and then sometimes that makes people want to give up. It's like, oh, okay, like I worked my ass off for all these accounts, and then maybe this didn't fall through. I have these issues coming up. I have this issue with servicing here. I got this account canceling. I got this inspection came back bad, and now I have to rewrite this. And it all piles up, and it almost makes you want to do nothing at that point.
It's all the other stuff than the fun part about selling.
Yeah.
Right? The stuff that kind of gets you excited, the rush of trying to close a deal. I mean, sales fatigue, are you feeling that now being, I mean, you've been in sales, but now being on this side, you completed a year, you've been a year and 3 months. I mean, what's kind of your strategy to fight that sales fatigue?
I've had the sales fatigue come and go ever since I started my career in sales. You know, it's something that you're always managing. It's not something that you ever just completely solve. And sometimes you have to identify the signs that it's coming on, and you'll be able to be like, okay, hey, look, this is getting kind of weird. Let me try and switch something up. So, like, I think a big part in sales fatigue, it comes from figuring things out. So every time you have to do something that you haven't done before, it takes a lot of mental energy. You're scared of making mistakes. You have to have a lot of processing power devoted to figuring out the right thing to do, and then double checking your mistakes, and then you have a little bit of anxiety because you don't want to mess it up. So when everything is new, everything you're doing is that much more stressful. Whereas when you have experience and you have proven systems and I've worked 1,000 types of this account before, you don't get anywhere near that level of stress from it.
And it's the mental aspect of it, the mental fatigue, the mental stress, the anxiety of it, the unknown. I mean, it's hard enough dealing with rejection already.
Yeah.
Right. Which is, I think, probably the hardest part about doing this.
Yeah.
So everything else, and then, you know, when we're in this business where it's such a volume type business, like I don't think we do enough of celebrating our wins. It's kind of on to the next one.
Yeah.
Like we're built for this, but then it's like something good happens. I think we got to do a better job of taking a step back, at least taking a little bit to celebrate those wins, because those things matter. Little things matter.
They do matter. The wins matter. They keep you going. And I think a big mistake, I mean, it's keeping yourself out of that comfort zone. Like when you're doing well and you have accounts coming in, for example, that's when you need to prospect more, because that's going to dry up soon.
Yeah.
And you have to be building your leads months in advance.
We talked about this. When you're slow in this business, is because you weren't doing the things 2 months ago.
Exactly.
The little things, they catch up to you.
So
you're right. It's once you start rolling, you take the foot off the gas, you start paying attention to detail, filling your pipeline, building those relationships, following up with your customers. That's when you see the lull. In the business.
And when people say like, oh, sales are all up and down, and like that's why it's up and down for many people, because you hit a rut. You go really hard on prospecting and marketing, reach out to everybody. You establish a pipeline a couple months down the line. Then you ride a high. When you're riding that high and you're closing all these deals, you stop establishing pipeline.
Correct.
You go back down.
Yeah.
So it goes up and down. But if you're consistently focused on building the pipeline, you can get good continuity and good flow going. But it's the opposite of human nature. You're always fighting your human nature, your innermost desires. Everyone has them, and it's like it can be, hey, my innermost desire right now is I want to chill on the couch and I want to watch Ozark for 4 hours. That's what I want to do right now.
Which I did. That was the move number one in quarantine.
Yeah.
I was disappointed I ran through it, but
And that's what makes, I think, working from home is challenging, but I think working sales from home is even more challenging because you have to keep up a certain energy level. And it's not just task completion.
Right.
It's your enthusiasm, the way you're getting after it, you being savvy.
Your pitch, your voice, it says everything about you.
Yeah.
And doing that at home, I mean, here it's a little bit different because we kind of rally around each other, we motivate each other. But you're right, getting on, dealing with rejection, getting on that phone call at home takes even more strength and energy.
Yeah, it does. And then you don't have anyone to bounce it off of. For example, Liz was here for this morning, and like we're both dealing with issues, but we're able to just kind of like not laugh about them, but just kind of bounce them off each other. Hey, we're in the same boat here. Okay, we'll get over it.
No, it helps.
And
it helps.
It's like a huge relief. But I mean, when I was home, I have a roommate, and he's
not in insurance.
He's very analytical. He's in spreadsheets all day. He's in the music industry, but on the data side, and there's like zero relation in the struggle. Like he's watched me go from like high to low to just like he's like never learned so much about insurance in his freaking life just hearing me on the phone all day. Yeah. But he's like, man, like he just has this one consistent mood. He's hanging out. All he has to do is make sure he gets it done. If he doesn't get it done, he stays a little late. But it's not like that with us. Like
I'm saying the sales role, and one thing I'm trying to, and it's kind of, I would say, common sense, but just because there's only so many things we can control. Like we know we did the right job, but there's various factors, right? When you're dealing with on insurance bids, there's insurance companies giving us rates. There's also us presenting with multiple people, multiple decision makers involved. I'm trying to just focus on what you can control and not how you feel. I'm trying to kind of come up with that wall a little bit better, which leads to the mental fatigue, sales fatigue. It's I can't control it, right? I can't worry about it. Whatever I can control, not how I feel, is kind of my new mantra in especially in 2020.
Stoicism. That's like the basis of stoicism, is to only focus on the factors that you can control and to accept what you can't.
By the way, how old are you again?
I'm 25.
I mean, the most mature 25 is there, man. You're built for this, man. I thought we'd be talking about something else, but
yeah, but like that's
FSU, man. FSU degree, right? The risk management.
Man. FSU, FSU degree is good.
FSU,
Risk management degree is great.
For all the Seminoles out there, I like it, man.
But I want to give myself a little credit. Not FSU credit on the stoicism and on the maturity. That's on me, because I had to learn how to deal with all of this. And also at the end of the day, and it makes you better, but this is something that's huge in insurance, and it's huge in a lot of industries, is like mentorship and training, and a lot of places you're gonna have to figure things out on your own.
Yeah.
And it's hard and it's scary and it makes you freak out, but it makes you good. So when I was an underwriter, I had a great boss as an underwriter, amazing boss. But unfortunately, there really wasn't a great system for bringing up new producers in that office. So when I started, I worked my last year of college. I was able to get them to hire me as a part-time assistant underwriter when I was finishing up my degrees in finance and risk management. So my entire last year, I was underwriting on the side, getting experience and figuring out the trade a lot more. So when I graduated, I was able to move right into it. And they were like, okay, I was going to be a commercial lines producer. I was going to go to agencies like this one and try and get them to send me business, which I'll place, split commission. It's great. So their plan for me was, okay, we have 8 or 9 producers in the office, production teams, and you're going to sit with each team for a month, go around the office, learn from everybody, and at the end of your first year, you'll probably know enough and be ready to go off on your own. And I was like, okay, that sounds great. Well, you don't want to think of them that way, but generally people in your office that are other producers are your competition in at least a sense. And it
is, yeah, no, you're right. Because you're going to be splitting books, or in that role, you're splitting different contacts, there's different agencies, people to kind of go up with, right?
There's a smaller pool, in JAG right here for producers, there's so many millions of businesses and people that we really don't cross each other very often enough to where it's going to be a problem as far as competition.
Right.
But on the wholesale side, you only have the agencies that are around. And people are always fighting over the agencies that they want to write their business. So they see me come in, and they're like, hey, why do I want to make this guy better?
Right. Why should I train? Yeah. What's in it for me?
Yeah.
I mean, and they're going to be great people, but I think that's human nature too.
It's
so I'm going to
nature.
train my future in-house competitor that might affect my bottom line, my income.
Yeah. And my new business production has been great lately. So this guy's going to come in and start killing it and make me look bad, you know?
Right.
So I would go to these teams and they would just give me busy work. And they'd be, okay,
the old smoke and mirrors.
The old smoke and mirrors.
Dude, show.
Here's a giant stack of applications. Just like,
yeah, we call that the play action. Is that or wide receiver reverse, double reverse?
Yeah,
it's a double reverse, double smoke screen.
Yeah, it was like so. The first one I worked under, it was like week 3, and I was just losing my mind. And I'm like, I slapped the whole assignment, like the packet of applications, like that thick on her desk, and I'm like, look, I didn't get hired for this. If you're not going to start teaching me, I'm going to ask to get switched to the next team early because apparently this one's just not working out.
Right.
And she's like, okay, here, gave me some new business to quote. And I started learning. But then it was every team I went to, I had to do that. And I had to fight this battle. And it was just, it sucked. You know, I wasn't learning. I really wasn't learning. So that is funny is that first producer, she came up to me when I was like a month, 2.5. And she goes, hey, you're too smart for this crap. Just go off on your own. You'll probably make it. And I'm just like, man.
And that was when you were still, I mean, because you graduated early. So you
graduated in May, and I was still 21. I didn't turn 22 until August.
That's crazy.
And so in July, I went to my boss and I said, okay, hey, look. And I moved to Fort Lauderdale by myself for this job. I had a 1-bedroom apartment. You know, I didn't know a single person there.
But you were commuting when you interned as well.
Yeah,
so you were doing an hour and a half drive.
Hour and a half each way.
Yeah, I remember that. And you put in the work, man. You put in the work at a young age when most people were trying to figure out, I don't know. They just weren't nearly as mature. I had that kind of foresight. One thing you did, and I look back at it, I didn't have the opportunity because of my playing sports in college, but how important was getting that internship early on, like having that path? Because you went to school and you figured out, like everyone does, right? It's kind of that weird age when you get to school, what are we going to study? Everyone has an idea what they're going to study until they get there and they figure out, not really interesting. But you at a young age kind of determined you wanted this path and you built out this plan early on. Which man, fast forward this thing. I know we talked about it at 22 years old, you had a full-time job, building your own career. That's, I mean, I guess it happens, but it didn't happen to many people that I was hanging out with at 22.
Yeah, and I guess it's just kind of the way I look at things. And when I got into college, I mean, you recommended the risk management program, so I attended their portion of the orientation, and I saw 2 stats that I still remember to this day. It was 95% of all graduates leave with a full-time position directly from university, and that the median salary at the time was $47,500 a year.
You know, I remember thinking about that. Obviously, I didn't study risk management. I was a finance international major. You know, kind of, I went through this phase of what I was going to do next.
Yeah.
You doing it now, and you're honestly one of the biggest success stories. And if I was at FSU, I'd put you on a plaque. Are you being the Hall of Fame? No? Was that the Warrior? Were the Knowles? Isn't that the Chiefs?
I don't know if they have one for insurance yet, but
not yet, but you will be.
We can put it together.
But you know, it's funny how many. I mean, do you see, like, I don't, and maybe just us. Obviously, I'm kind of insulated in what I'm doing, but I don't. And the people I've talked to, and we're talking to people all the time, interviews. I don't see a lot of younger generation getting into the insurance business. I mean, I'm not sure how much of your peers are doing it, or people. I know people you went to school because you did it specifically in risk management. But I'm having conversation with people. I don't know. Do you know why people that don't study insurance kind of look at it as an afterthought? Is there anything you've thought about?
Yeah, and it ties into why I picked insurance in the first place and why, like, the way I thought about it might be different from other people. And it was like when I got into college, you know, I didn't really have anything I was passionate about that would translate to a career. You know, I like sports. I like to hang out.
You're not supposed to. I think everyone want to be like a sports agent.
But at the end of the day, thinking, I'm like, man, what am I here for? What's my life gonna be like? You know, what am I gonna do? And I'm just kind of like, man, I gotta find a job, make money, and I want to have some freedom when I'm older, so that I can enjoy time with a family if I have one, and I can travel. And so, yeah, I knew I wanted to make money. I wanted to have freedom. I didn't want to go to school for more than 4 years because I didn't like school that much. Even though I was good at it, I just didn't like it. So when I saw the insurance program, I was like, boom, salary. I have a guaranteed job. What else do I need to hear? And then I heard a bit from you about it. So when I started interning, I started learning more and more. I started learning about earning potential.
Yeah.
I started learning about how you can build a book of business and how the job transforms from this crazy volume, flipping accounts, grinding your face off every day.
To residual income.
Where
Keyword.
you're managing relationships.
Keyword, yeah.
And it's like, whoa, that's actually pretty cool. So exploring it on the wholesale side, and it was very interesting, and I learned how to build a book of business there. I built a book of business over 3.5 years, and I was in my early 20s, 21, 22 years old, knocking on agencies' doors, trying to get them to send me business to quote. And, you know.
You grew up fast, man. What's that like walking in? Because it's fun. I mean, I dealt with it in a different way, but you being 21, walking into an agency owner, right? And that's for this, in that business, to someone who's twice your age, 10 times the experience, telling them why they should do business with you. Because that's probably one of the most difficult things. What was that like?
It toughened me up, but I had some bad experiences, you know? I got embarrassed. I messed up.
Tell me who it is so we can call them on the phone. I want to go. Tell me.
I have some people on my list now that they're my competitors.
All right,
actually.
good. They're on the hit list.
I do have some people on the hit list. I have a certain agency in Fort Lauderdale that's on the hit list.
All right, let's.
And you know what happened there too? I remember
recon.
this one, and it's always in insurance with deals. And I know you're gonna have more experience with this than I even do. There's a moment where you start building hope on an account. It's like when you think the Dolphins are finally going to be good this year.
Yes, yeah.
There's no true despair without hope.
It's something. It's called Hope Island. It's where everyone has their vacation home and the Ferrari. It's a beautiful place. No one's ever been there, but it's dreams and hopes have been built on Hope Island.
Yeah.
Trust me. I think I have a timeshare there. Still there.
Yeah, I have so much stuff on Hope Island that like.
How big is your house? Because mine's like 5 bed. I got a 3-story house. I'm calling it the Trilogy. It's kind of like my thing.
I have just where I live now, but I actually get to spend time and hang out there instead of work all the time.
Oh, okay,
that's my Hope Island.
Okay.
But really, it was like it's once you start like thinking like, hey, I can really get this. I can really have this, and then you don't. That's when it hurts. And as long as you keep that mentality, like, hey, look, accounts come and go, people come and go. When they come and go, it's not that big of a deal. So, you know.
I think it's bigger too. And now that you're building your own book, it also hurts more when your pipeline's not full. Losing accounts hurts 10 times as much because that's what your focus is. If your pipeline's full, it's easier to kind of pivot and move on to the next one.
Yeah, I mean, just last month, I got an AOR signed by the board.
I remember that one.
On a big condo.
That was
and
that hurt.
Yeah,
that hurt.
We didn't get it because of a technical issue with one of the companies having to do with the number of days out from expiration. A rule no one's ever heard of.
And I like what you did there because I know that hurt because I know we had talked about it. It was a large account. But you pivoted quick. You did it the right way. You kind of saved face and you're playing the long game.
Yeah.
It's set up now where now we know, December at the end of this year, it's going to come up quick. Look, it's halftime of 2020.
Yeah.
So you're going to get, but you did it right playing the long game. You pivoted quick, but that was tough.
Yeah. And it was like, it was one I knew was a long shot. But what happened was when I got that signed AOR,
of course, you start.
I thought I got it.
You start checking cash.
Yeah.
You start looking at the commission. How much are they making the account?
I
Right?
was on my
What goes in the
calculator.
bank?
I'm like, oh, don't forget 20% on the flood. Like adding everything up, planning how I was going to use the money. I was like, my credit card debt is gone.
Right.
And then it was just like later that night.
It was the parachute you needed in the month of March.
Yeah, like that was it. Like I did it.
And there's no
Yeah.
There's no cord.
And just totally just crashed and burned, But and it's funny because I've been having these experiences for 5 years working here in the business, and you still get them. It still happens. So like facing that rejection, almost you can't learn how to deal with rejection without getting rejected.
It's not. It's growth. I think everyone says who's great at it. It still bothers you. You just get thicker skin.
Yeah.
You develop better. Another thing we talked about earlier, or I've talked about is you worked in hospitality.
Yeah.
Even in high school, right? Even before you got into insurance business. And I think everybody should work at least in hospitality in some sort of way because there you're on the front lines and you get to dealing with people and rejection. You need that thick skin, man. If not, you're not going to make it.
Yeah. And it kind of teaches you that like, people don't know who you are. They don't know you. They're just trying to do what's best for them. I think it's like a very Western culture thing to take things personally. Like I learned it in psych in college that people in the Eastern countries, like in China and Japan, when they get the short end of the stick somewhere, It's less, oh, this person's an asshole, they're out to get me. It's, hey, you know what? I was a victim of the circumstances here. Things didn't work out in my favor, but it's not necessarily an attack on me. This person's just doing what they believe is right for themselves. So I'm not going to hold any ill will against them. And like, I think that's a mentality that's good to have. Like at the end of the day, like you lose an account. Hey, look, this person was probably just doing what they thought was best for their business,
right.
which is their business is more important to them than this specific account is to me.
Right.
So I'm not going to get upset about it. I mean, I might be upset about it internally because I'm a human being and I have emotions, even though some people around the office tend to forget that because I'm kind of robotic. But you could feel emotions. You just can't let them dictate your answers and your responses.
Right.
You process them, you understand them, and then you continue with a calculated approach that's converging with the goals that you have preset. But if you don't have all this stuff already figured out on the front end and you're not going in every day knowing how you're going to deal with these situations, they're going to get you off guard, and that's when you get people kind of losing it, you know, just because they're not prepared for stuff like this.
And in our business too, obviously, we get hurt a lot more. I think sometimes happens where sometimes we're treated as vendors, and people look at us as vendors, and not the actual value we provide. That's where we get in trouble as well.
Yeah.
Like for us, you know, and I think and sometimes on the other side, there's some of our insureds who don't even let us get that close. Like we have so much more to bring as far as like a value added.
Yeah.
And you can kind of read that when you're treated as a vendor, they're going to make decisions like you are a vendor. But when they kind of can open up and we have that second, third, more conversations, get a little more in depth where we have value added, that's when we stick on for the long term.
Yeah. And it's true. Some people don't want to let you get there because maybe it's a general distrust. So
I think it's just people's distrust in insurance in general.
Yeah.
It's not about us. Remember, we're kind of in the middle. It's either past experiences, things that were out of our control. They kind of have these pre-existing notions of how they should treat insurance. Like we're the direct extension of how they feel about what happened to them in the past from a carrier standpoint.
I mean, yeah, most people don't even understand the difference between an insurance agency and an insurance carrier. They think you're just the same.
I was in a meeting the other day where someone thought we were the carrier. Like literally, I was trying to explain it. There was an issue with a claim. I mean, we're 3 levels apart from what happened. And I was explaining that I'd write you a check tomorrow. I'm fighting for you. I'm not the carrier, but like let's work together. The letter you received was from company A.
Yeah.
I'm C. I'm your person. Let's have a better conversation. And we got past that hurdle. But going back to hospitality, I can tell you, one thing I like to do, and I think the way people treat other people who are serving them says everything I need to know about them.
Yeah.
It just does. And I'm actually, what I like to do is even have meetings or go out, even if it's an interview, go out to have lunch with somebody, because how they treat the server is, I think, the bigger indicator of them as a person. And sometimes it's not even intentional. It's just, it's a character issue.
Yeah. You
right?
know what's interesting? It's back when I was on the wholesale side, the first meeting I got with a bigger agency, well, I was super nervous for it, and I showed up, and when I walked in, I said hi to the secretary, and she told me on the way out, I said, okay, bye, nice meeting you, and I said her name, told her have a nice day, and she says, no one has ever asked me my name in my entire time working in this office, ever. And I was kind of like,
are you kidding me?
Like, that's weird, you know?
Right.
Because, I mean, I always, that's just a habit. Like, I always meet the person that's in the front desk of the building or whatever, you know?
It's having the awareness of having respect for others.
Yeah. And
everybody matters.
And then they gave me a shot on a huge condo, like, a couple weeks later.
Did you get it?
No. That was actually a tragic last-minute loss, too. And then they never sent me another account. I got the winning quote.
There you go.
Right? And they had a lightning strike on the building the day before it came up for renewal.
No,
And I wasn't aware until they sent me the bind order.
And then the open claim,
they raised the premium $100,000. And then the carrier guy disappeared into a meeting. And the agent's like, hey, like, we collected $270,000 from the client. Is coverage bound?
So let me guess, it's your fault.
Oh, yeah.
That's your fault.
It was my fault. I got torn a new one like I never had in my entire life by the agency principal. And it was like, because I told them, like, they want another $100,000. I don't know what to do. I'm trying to get the guy on the phone. And they were like, I knew I shouldn't have taken a chance on this freaking kid, all this stuff. And I'm just there, it's like 8:30 p.m. I'm still in the office.
Is this the Fort Lauderdale office on the hit list?
No, not even. No, these guys are actually pretty cool. Like, we smoothed it over later.
They're safe then. They can be safe.
The one on the hit list stood me up for the meeting. I showed up with bagels And I'm like, yeah, I'm here to meet with this producer. And then the guy's like, yeah, they're not here. And I'm like, all right, well, any producer. And I got bagels for you guys. I'm in a suit. I paid for parking. I walked like 3 blocks.
And the bagels, yeah.
I cooled down in the lobby because it was hot and I was sweating. You know, like
I love those stories.
Yeah,
I mean, it sucks at the time, but it's just one of those things that like
it builds character.
It builds character.
Yeah, they're like, there's no one here to meet with you, dude. And I was like,
are you kidding me? So let me tell you. So because of that, now when flip it right, because of that experience, now when someone's trying to meet with you, like, and that's happened to me as well. I'm so much more aware and respectful about other people's time because I've been on the other end. Like it's happened to me. You know, I know. Again, we have clients, but I know certain people who have never been on that side, and until you experience that, not that you want to be, you're not doing it intentional. You're just not as aware of how valuable people's times are. Like, let's go back to getting multiple quotes or multiple bids. People don't understand that the amount of time of work and effort it is to even build an account.
Yeah.
And just having these, and when you're younger now, we're kind of identifying better, right? But when you're young and you're chasing opportunities, if someone tells you, hey, give me a bid, but is it really a fair bid? And how much time have you wasted going down that rabbit hole? You know, you really have no chance.
I had a client the other day. It was like, hey, it was a smaller condo, and like we want to see some of their quotes. And I'm like, no one's competing with your quote. I approached like 5 different markets, and they all declined the quote for pricing. No one's touching it. He goes, yeah, but they really want to see quotes. And I'm like, well, I could go to my brokers, and I could lie to them, and I could say they have a shot on an account, and please make me a quote. Or I can ask them for a favor to make me a quote they know is not going to bind, and have them, that someone I work with every single day, spend 30 minutes making up terms.
Right.
Or
They don't see
we can
that.
just roll with this quote because my relationships are what make me good at my job, and I don't want to compromise those. This is a good quote. And the guy was like, oh, okay. You know, and sometimes you got to stick to your guns to defend your people a little bit on both sides. Because I remember when I was an underwriter, I'd have people come to me, hey, I need 3 quotes. I need 3 quotes. And I would do it, and it would suck. And I remember thinking, like, man, I don't want to do that to people.
Well, it's just, I get it. From on the front end, it's the client not trusting the process, the transparency of it, right? But it's not even us. It's the insurance company. Hey, get multiple bids. There's so much work that goes into it. And that's where the value comes. Trust us. These are email. Literally, we have everything in writing. This is the best option. They still want to see stuff. Then we got to flip it, call our companies, have them go to work. And it's true. Do they really have a shot? And the answer is no. So the next time we need a favor or we had a last minute deal, we call them. You start to lose kind of like your word is everything.
Your word is everything. And people don't track it, but they have like
the mental issue.
There's a little counter going off in anybody's head, any vendor, any carrier, and whatever. That's like, how many accounts has this guy sent in? How many quotes have I given him, and how many has he closed?
Am I wasting my time?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because we're all busy, and then
Yeah.
it just becomes like today. Like, what's the stuff that we think is going to be more the most important, more efficient?
Yeah.
Focus on that. You want to be on that stack.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're the one that's just making them spin wheels all the time, you get moved down the pecking order every time, just a little bit. And then before you know it, you know, you can't get anything from them.
I was thinking about you now. You're going into your second year. You made the first year the hardest part, and now year 2 starts, and then COVID-19 starts.
Yeah.
Talk about the challenges, right? The obstacles.
Yeah, that was awesome, right? It was. I finished
The 1 year anniversary bell. Hey, guess what? We got to go home for 2.5 months.
That's my whole thing. I was like, okay, all I got to do is make it to the end of year 1. My book renews, and then it's going to be great. And then, you know, I can't market. I can't prospect. I can't network. At least not in the traditional sense. I had to figure out new ways to do it.
Correct.
But new ways, you know, it was a little bit less effective because no one's in business. And you know, people are trying to save money right now, not spend money. And it was just...
And the unknown. It's difficult.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and you're Mr. Zoom call. I mean, I see you just hosted a call right before we got to the content. But like even that, try to build a little more rapport. But the trust factor, right? Some people just are on the sidelines now. So it is a lot difficult to prospect for new business.
Yeah, exactly. So now I finally hit renewal, and I'm like, okay, now I can start stacking new business on my renewals, and I get this big hurdle. And it was kind of, you know, it is what it is. Sometimes things aren't the way you want them to be, and you just got to leave it at that. You know, it's not going to change.
So let me ask you: you're 25. When Kevin's 30 years old, where do you envision yourself being? You got a plan, man. You're one of the most organized kids I know.
Yeah, no.
I'm sure you have like in your journal, kind of like an Excel sheet of where you want to go.
I do.
Wait, I know you do. What are your projections? I mean, just tell me. 5 years from now, 30. Where's Kevin Gazitua want to be at?
I want to have a book of business large enough to warrant an office.
Okay.
As a starting point. I think it's very attainable. And, I want to try and be close to a $10 million book by around 30. I mean, maybe that's going to be tough, but somewhere between like 7.5 to 10.
Yeah, you got to, I mean, you're doing everything right. I mean, I always say in this business, the first year is the hardest. You really start to pick up years 3 and 5 is kind of a gap. You see these huge jumps between year 5 and 7.
Yeah.
That's where I've seen kind of like this big jump. Year 1, you're clawing, you're scratching and clawing. You're basically doggy paddling in the pool. You're out of it. Well, now COVID, you're still there. But year 3 to 5 is a jump, and then 5 to 7, I think you're going to see a really big jump, and you're going to kill it. I mean, you're doing things. I'm proud of you, man. You're doing things that are way above your maturity and age range if I compare you to anybody else. And I can't even compare you to anybody else because there's only one Kevin. But I'm excited for your future, man. I'm thankful that you took a chance. Well, honestly, I told you not to do it. I didn't want you to come work with us just because I was like, dude, get out, do your own thing. But you took your lumps, and now you're doing it, and I think you're killing it. You're doing all the right things. I'm excited to see where you're going to be in the next 5 years. You're going to be crushing it. But every year, I'm excited to see your growth.
Thanks, man. And I think I finally, like, even over the last few weeks, like, starting to feel like I'm putting it all together. Because I came in knowing the technical insurance side and, commercial account placement, but there's a lot of other aspects to being an agent that were things I never even thought about. A lot of different aspects of prospecting, client management, of negotiating, going meetings, and just things that come up throughout the life of an account, different lines of business. And it's just so much. And it was almost like the first 6 months I was navigating blind. And it's like, okay, I can explain the insurance to people, but that's about the only thing I know how to do.
Right.
And there's just so much more to it. And now I feel like I'm finally starting to have the other skills figured out to pair with the industry knowledge I came with. And it's like now I can start getting to work.
Bring it together.
But it's almost like you don't want to do too much until you feel like you're ready. And just...
Yeah, because I'm sure there's certain, knowing you, there's probably a few prospects that are on the list, but you're kind of not waiting. But sometimes when you approach some of the larger accounts, you really only have one shot.
Yeah.
So you're kind of putting yourself together, feeling ready before you go attack that aspect.
That's exactly what I've been doing, and I did that in my last job at RPS, and it paid off. Like when I was hitting the streets in the very beginning, I wasn't going to all the best agencies we haven't signed up yet. No, I was going to the smaller mom and pop shops that needed somebody hungry and aggressive to help them get to the next level. And I graduated over time to bigger and larger and better agencies. I mean, I didn't write an account with JAG probably for at least a year.
Took a little bit. That's true.
It took a while.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was also strategic. I wanted you to kind of not rely on us.
Yeah.
Early on when you were in the MGA, I kind of wanted you to, again, struggle a little bit because it's just the way I did it. It kind of accelerated the growth.
Yeah, exactly, and it worked. And because I had to find.
Hey, I'm taking credit for you getting the insurance business. I'm always going to do that.
Yeah, man, you got me the internship.
I'm taking credit. I did something right.
And that internship was hard to get. Everyone else had to do like 3 rounds of Skype interviews, had to submit all these applications, get references from the university, all of this stuff, and you just made a phone call and they were like, "Are you sure you want to drive to Fort Lauderdale every day?" That was my interview.
Yeah, I dropped the Gazitua.
Yeah,
threw it in there a little bit. It works sometimes.
It worked, and I said, "Yeah."
Hey, by the way, keep doing well, man. For you to set up the JAG, the JAG. There's a G in there already, so it's going to be easier. Little swap action, or maybe like a.
For me, it's perfect. I don't have, the business is being ran by other people. I just got to show up. Team's built. Media team's built. All I got to do is sell insurance. Like people say, like they ask me all the time, like, would you want to start your own thing though one day? And I'm like, no, I do not envy the position that you guys are.
It's different. It's different. It's different. I sometimes, yeah, but sometimes I envy you just being out there and just think about selling. I mean, that to me, that's the funnest part. Look, I love dealing with people. It's great, but think about the other moving parts: account management, client management. Then you got to worry about the other business aspect of it. It's hard to focus on. It's a lot. We talk about mental fatigue, but focus on what you can control, right? Not how you feel.
And don't be hard on yourself when you forget those principles, because you're human.
No, we all are. And then with all the chaos going on there, and it's just what I love about this business too is we're going to get a phone call, each of us, in the next 45 minutes, that's something we didn't plan for that could change our day.
Yeah.
I mean, good or bad. Literally, that's the part that kind of keeps the blood flowing. It's either going to be a claim issue, underwriting issue, new business prospect, selling opportunity. That unknown is what fires me up about this business as well.
Yeah, and you stay sharp because you're always on your toes having to deal with things. And you can't really hide because you're like the last guy.
Yeah. No, and then this doesn't help either, putting yourself out there and
Yeah.
in the camera. Yeah, nothing to hide. But, dude, I appreciate you. We're going to do it again, man. We'll do a little coffee with guys. Thanks for coming on. Dude, I'm proud of you. Like, your story, I want more people to know your story, too. It's just, we can find, if you know any other Kevins out there, man, send them our way. All right, give me like half a Kevin. Give me like,
I think I
just
have
give
a
me the
half
K.
a Kevin.
Give me the K.
I have a half a Kevin or two out there somewhere.
But I appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming on, and let's keep rocking and rolling.
Will do, man. Thank you.
Awesome.